me, I'm driving truck, so I could deliver goods. And today I'm delivering dirt to build future homes. So you don't get people doing what I'm doing unless you continue to beg them to give you money, or you force them. We the working population, you force us to pay your taxes, whereas all the oligarchs, they don't pay any taxes because they own the system, man. I said, unless you work for Project Veritas.
What's Project Veritas again?
So that's an online group that has a bunch of like whistleblower reports.
Oh, right.
And then so then he'll figure out, okay, so this or this is going on over here. So we'll send a few different people. And I think usually what happens is that they go find someone that they want to investigate and go buy him a beer and just start asking questions without saying, like, I'm an official journalist. They just send a cute little 20-something-year-old girl just like, really? What's that? Oh, what's that? Embezzlement? That sounds fun. What's that? How do you do that? Oh, that sounds neat.
Well, isn't it? Doesn't it
kind of spill the beans?
Yeah, aren't they kind of correlated with the CIA too, and the NSA?
I don't know. Everyone is, man. Everyone's correlated with the CIA somewhere.
Well, I know that it's a real thing that some of our news people in the past have been CIA, because they would go over. We would send our press overseas, and they would act, wearing two hats. They're a reporter. They're out there, a journalist, but they're also a CIA operative.
Yeah. Operation Mockingbird and Operation Paperclip. Right?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have who is it? Anderson Cooper of Mr. CNN. He's like the great grandson of Mr. Rockefeller.
Is he really?
Is the
I know
Rockefeller or Rothschild? I think it's Rockefeller.
Crazy. We were gonna the Rothschilds and the Rockefellers. If you go back, I think it gets less crazier in the generations. But as you get closer to our age, or our day and age, their descendants, I mean, think about all the money that's been handed down and all the estates from one generation to the other. When you own the world, when you're born into owning pretty much everything in the world, you're either going to do the right thing and be a real philanthropist, right? Or you're going to end up being a psychopath. If you're born a psychopath with a lot of money, that's what you call evil. That's the definition of real evil right there. Yeah. A psychopath with a psychopath, a trillionaire or billionaire. Let's talk about the Constitution. I know nothing about it. I know my First Amendment, which is freedom of speech. I know the Second Amendment, which is the right to bear arms, and the Fifth Amendment, which is the right to remain silent. Other than that, well, I know the preamble.
Nice.
Well, I can't really recite it now, but
so you're sitting in California. Your state constitution says in your state constitution that every court is a court of records in the state of California. So what is that? So in California, every one of your courts is a court of record. So do you, one, know what that means? And two, do you know how important that is to the people of California?
No, I don't.
Okay. So tell me what you know about, like, for instance, if you go to the church's website right now, churchofjesuschrist.org.
Yes.
You'll see one of the articles that pops up, which is essentially a rebroadcasting of Elder Oakes's talk from this last general conference, that we as members of the church and Christians in general should support and sustain the United States Constitution.
Okay.
So since you're saying, I mean, I'm not a scholar, but I know I study probably more than I should. You keep asking questions. Stop asking questions, Kyle. What are you doing? What
Learning
do you
is a
understand?
good thing.
Well, unless you live in a socialistic dictatorship, they always say like, stop asking questions. Just do what you're told.
You know, I used to know a lot, and I think that I've become dumber as I get older. I know I'm slower in speech, but you were going to ask me something. You posed the question. What
Yeah.
what do
The
I know
question
about
the
in the
question to you is, what do you understand about the Constitution, and why is it important to you, if it is?
I'm thankful that I was born in this country that has the Constitution. I know that many other Western civilizations' constitutions were modeled after this one. I know that we formatted our Constitution, and I could be wrong. Uh, we looked at the Romans and the Greeks and how they did things, and we tried to emulate that, but do it better. I think uh, I know that it's not a perfect document, but it sure the heck is. We had some geniuses draft it,
Yeah.
right?
So you guys in
And
California just had a recall of Gavin Newsom, but apparently he was so popular in the middle recall, he got more votes during his recall than he did the last time he actually ran.
that's
What do you
crazy.
what do you think about that?
I'm not going to even go there. I'm not going to go there.
Well, that has a lot to do with the Constitution, or the idea of it. So it appears that in California, you guys are okay with a tiny dictator
Right.
and letting him rule over you, or you're okay with having your election stolen and not doing a dang thing about it.
Or there's some bamboozling going on.
There absolutely is. A governor who locks down the entire state, and a governor who breaks the law over and over and over again, because the governorship. So that's one of the questions about the Constitution. Is the governor your new king?
It kind of seems that way.
Is it supposed to be that way?
No. Like before the Civil War, we were more of a confederacy than we were a federalist government. Sorry. And then after the Civil War, the Washington D.C. got a lot more power. Back in the day, governors were like mini presidents. You know, each state was like its
over their territory. Yeah.
right. Each state was almost like its own country.
Do you remember? Do you remember reading a quote from Brigham Young, of all people? Because he was around during the whole time of Abraham Lincoln. Do you remember what Brigham Young said about Abraham Lincoln?
Well, I know it wasn't good.
You could say that. He called him a damned fool and a wily rascal.
Yeah.
Because there was plenty of crap that Abraham Lincoln did that broke the Constitution. For
Right.
good or ill, whether you agree with that or not, there were things that he did that were extra constitutional to
That's
quote unquote
true.
save the republic. But
England.
that's where my mind goes when it comes to the Constitution and what we're currently going through. Because to a certain degree, I almost don't care what happened during the Civil War and how we got to where we are right now. It's important to understand, but it's also not really going to help us dictate what's going to happen in the future. So if you're okay in California with a little tyrant, that's what you're going to get. You will continue to have little tyrants who
Well,
just put themselves into office.
I don't think it's necessarily a case that we're okay with it. There might have been some cheating involved. I don't know that for sure, but
Sure you do. There was cheating involved. The guy does not go through and do what he does and still gets 60% of the vote.
that's true. That's
He
true.
cheated. I mean, when you own the Dominion voting software system, people, when they absolutely are in sync with your Facebook and your Googles right there in California, you're never going to get a free and fair election. The people's voice is going to be silenced.
Yeah. Yeah, unfortunately, that's probably what happened.
So
And
until you guys do your own audit and your canvassing, you'll be just like Utah and a bunch of other states where you actually don't have real elections. You just have fake elections to make yourself feel better. Like remember when Napoleon Bonaparte, Mr. Bonaparte, Mr. Frenchman, he became
mhm.
the emperor. You remember how he became the emperor?
No, tell me.
He got supposedly 99% of the vote from the people,
Oh, right.
and that
Okay, yeah,
he had a
that's right.
vote, right? He had a vote, and wow, he got 99%.
Yeah,
I mean,
it's
that's like Che Guevara stuff, man.
something that we might be seeing more of too if we don't do something about it. But what are we going to do about it? You know what I mean?
Well,
Um,
have you followed the Arizona audit at all? They're coming
no,
out with the official audit later this week, as far as I understand it.
no. Uh, but it's sad that our voting situation is not much different than some of these third world countries where they vote in a dictator, like you said, like Napoleon,
Yeah,
where they get 99% of the vote.
the dude freaking crowned himself emperor right in front of the Pope. I mean, jeez, that guy had some cojones. Whereas Gavin Newsom just has a big pair of ovaries. That's all he's got. But I mean, at least he still knows how to do what he's got to do
Hey, this is a
to stay
children's
in power.
program.
That's a scientific word.
Yes, I know.
But
But
if for your algorithm that you might be worried about, if I say a man cannot have ovaries, now your channel's going to get shut down.
right.
See, I'm being progressive. I'm
But
being
you
woke.
just
I'm
said
being new
it though.
worldly.
You just
No, I
said
didn't. No, you made me say it. I plead the fifth. Because a man could have ovaries now, according to California and Facebook bylaws.
it. Do we have people in power that crave ultimate power?
Sure.
That's kind of a redundant question, right? Do you think our main problem is that we don't have limits in our Congress?
You're like term limits.
Yeah, because doesn't it seem like a lot of these guys get a lot of their support from these senators and Congress people?
Well, my answer to that one would be you have to fix your election process before you even start talking about what kind of rules or regulations that you want to put on any future members of Congress. Because until you get there, until you actually fix your election where you know that you're putting the people that you actually want in office, then it doesn't matter what kind of new rules that you put into place. They're always going to
Right.
shortcut them. They're always going to cheat them. The way to fix the cheating is to make sure your elections are honored. So that means no ranked choice voting and none of that kind of bullcrap. It has to be a people who can elect their representatives. Otherwise, you're only talking about how to arrange the chairs on a Titanic.
Right. That's very true.
So if you fix the elections, then maybe we could talk about term limits. But until you fix them, and you know for a fact that they cannot be cheated or stolen. I mean, think about all the technology that we have with blockchain. If you use blockchain with your voting system, it almost becomes impossible to hack the election like we do today.
Well, what we should do, and I'm not sure if many people are many states and counties are implementing this, but are we not using paper ballots maybe to back up some of these votes? We should.
Many of them are, as far as I could tell, studying Arizona's and Georgia's and Utah's. They do keep their paper ballots for a while, but until it all depends on who's in power, unfortunately, right now, because all of a sudden mistakes happen. And then if those mistakes aren't followed
Right.
through with, if the commissioner and the governor are buddies or cousins or married to one another, then all of a sudden, those problems just seem to go away, but without an actual resolve. The people who want to stay in power stay in power.
I think that we should outlaw internet voting, period. I think that it
Oh,
should
yeah.
be all paper ballot. And
Well, back
that
in the
would solve
day
a
of
lot of our problems.
1776, you would have an entire week for the people to come to their board of electors and then go into a room and then tell the electors who's going to be counting your vote. You say, I declare I am voting for this candidate for this position. and then they
Right.
would write it down, and they would keep that paper. Then you would keep your own piece of paper, and it could be monitored very, very easily because everything was on paper, and there wasn't all this shenanigans going back and forth about, internet and like you're talking about, or mail-in voting. Mail-in voting is off. Like, for instance, it just came out in a report this morning that in Arizona's vote, 58% of the people who voted in Arizona's 2020 election have no social security number. So what's happening with that? 58% of Arizona voters have no social security number. If you're voting a federal election, as far as I understand it, you either have to have a social security number or at least an IEN number.
58%. Okay, but yeah, that would mean that 58% of the people there are
They're either undocumented.
You said 58%
citizenry.
Right.
Yeah, general point with that whole thing, 58% of Arizona voters not even having a social security number. Like, you can be a person of the state. That's how the Constitution was originally written. You don't need a social security number to be a citizenry, or at least ask for representation. Before the advent of the social security number, you still had, your George Washingtons and Abraham Lincolns who had no social security number. That doesn't define a citizen. Or I should say,
Right.
It does define a citizen, but it does not define what the Constitution actually outlines, which is we the people. If you're of the people, you don't need to conscript yourself into some kind of a socialized system like a social security network.
Right. Doesn't your name do that? That should be your given name.
Just your right of birth. If you were born and you live and you agree to live as one of the people of the state, or at least the area territory that you live in, that's all that you really should need. But if you're going to say that these are your rules, but you don't even hit your rules, then you know that somebody's cheating somewhere to keep power, because they need a taxation base. They have to have somebody going out and working and plowing the fields. Or like me, I'm driving truck so I could deliver goods. And today I'm delivering dirt to build future homes. So you don't get people doing what I'm doing unless you continue to beg them to give you money, or you force them. We the working population, you force us to pay your taxes, whereas all the oligarchs, they don't pay any taxes because they own the system, man.
Right.
Why are they going to pay any taxes when they're the ones receiving your taxes?
Yeah. Yep. Complicated issue there.
Not really.
Well,
they're liars.
No, I know that.
Tar and feather them. Get them out of here.
I mean, complex. It's complex. It's going to take work. It's going to take time. It's going to take effort. It's going to take people waking up and gathering to their senses, or we are awaiting the arrival of our Savior, and we need to make sure that we get, as members of the church, we look at it a little bit differently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As a people, as a body of Christian faith, we should understand that the Constitution was given to us by God. It was influenced by God. And it's our duty to preserve it and to protect it.
Absolutely.
And use it.
Right.